I'm Matt Wilhelmi. I'm the owner of Strategic Voyages Business Consultants. I'm also the author of Taboo Business Questions, What's Haunting Every Entrepreneur's Growth. And today I'm really excited because I'm joined by Brandi Sikes. She is a commercial realtor based in Houston, but honestly, she's so much more. She helps business leaders make great real estate decisions. She's been in the industry for quite a while, doing a number of different things for business owners. And I'm just really excited to be able to spend some time with you today, Brandi.
Thanks for having me, Matt. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, one of the things that really kind of stood out to me when we were getting to know each other and kind of preparing for this call was you're not just interested in selling somebody a piece of real estate. I mean, that might be the end of it, but there's so much more that you want to help business owners with. Walk me through just maybe what that actually looks like and what that means, because I think that's a little fuzzy for a lot of people who hear realtor and maybe think selling real estate, how much is my house worth? And that's not really what you do.
Yeah. So real estate is a very broad industry. And so what I've learned through my experience is you have to put yourself in the shoes of the business owner. You have to see their business the way they see it, understand their processes, get to know their culture that's driven by their processes, and then start asking questions about what their space needs look like. If you start with, here are all the options that are available to you, there's a good chance that you're going to miss the mark. You have to understand the company, its personality, what its needs are today, what the business leader thinks the needs are in the next 5, 10, and 15 years, rationalize all of that, and then match it to something that can really support the business. So it's much more than meeting a need to a solution. It's more consulting in nature. There are a lot of real estate professionals who specialize in getting listings and selling them quickly. And that's a great business. And there's a great need for that. My specialty has been understanding corporate needs and identifying the right commercial real estate solution that can best support their business in the stage of growth that it's in today, with in mind the future stages it will be facing at some point.
Yeah, I think, when I was first kind of getting to know you a little bit, you used the term realtor, but after a while of talking to you, you definitely sounded a lot more like a consultant, just with the approach that you take and helping business owners really kind of think through the root cause of some of their real estate problems. A lot of the conversations probably evolve around real estate, but the solutions and maybe the way to get there look very, very different. And you were kind enough to give me a number of different examples of business leaders you've helped. And there's no doubt in my mind that the industry is better, with you kind of helping people with their real estate portfolios. One of the terms that you used was that you help optimize real estate portfolios. And so, that's again, more than just listing and did I get a seller and okay, I'm on to the next one. It's really understanding what's the bigger purpose that maybe a business leader has for this property, right?
Absolutely. And
so
it's not going to fit every stage of business growth. It's typically for a season. And how do you enter that property in the right season, and how do you prepare to exit it at the right season?
now we're talking the same language. When you use terms like seasons and things like that, as a management consultant myself who works with a lot of business leaders as their CFO, I very quickly need to determine what season they're in, because that's going to determine what advice I give. I wouldn't give the same advice to a mature business that has a structured format of how they do their business and how they generate revenue. I wouldn't give them the same advice as a startup. It's just totally different. And it sounds like you're able to kind of navigate those conversations, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of my experiences come from listening to business leaders share their vision, mission, and goals. And more recently, I became a business owner and faced all of those challenges firsthand. It really, I think that experience made me a better service provider to my clients, because I have been there. I was a startup. I reached maturity, and I merged my company into a global platform. So my space needs changed along the way. And that's what I've been doing all these years. So it was great to get that experience. And I think I'm a better listener for it.
Yeah, I remember in my early 20s when I was trying to give business advice and talking about leadership and employee management, and the business leaders would look at me like a small puppy who's never really been anywhere. And I get it now. I'm in my mid 30s. I still have a lot to learn, but having built a number of companies, owning my own, having a staff, you learn some things that maybe you don't necessarily pick up just from reading a blog, or even going to school. If you went to get an MBA, you're still not actually managing the team, kind of seeing it happen. And so you've got a chance to kind of go through that from a number of different perspectives. I wanted to kind of transition here, Brandi, into this really exciting case study, because oftentimes stories are kind of the best way to articulate and really kind of showcase some abilities. And so, the case study that you and I were kind of talking about was really, really interesting, because it goes to show how dedicated you are to your client base. And the case study relates to this oil and gas headquarters. I'm not going to say too much more about it. I'd love to hear it from your perspective. What happened? How did you kind of help them with their real estate needs?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Most people who want to get into commercial real estate are inspired by a big story that they read in the news of a new headquarters that was just open for giant company XYZ. And they do the math on that commission and they say, "Oh, this is where I need to be."
Yeah, I
What
was just going to say, wait a minute. So it's how many millions of dollars times 0.03? Oh,
that
wait.
that piques curiosity from a lot of folks who try to jump in, and then many who quickly jump out. So um, kind of the behind the scenes, what really happens to get to that momentous event where a company gets to open a brand new headquarters and everyone's excited, and maybe there's a new CEO trying to drive a new culture, and it's the big beautiful moment. But what leads up to that is a lot of hard work. And for those who are not afraid of hard work, I think I thrive on it. But for those who are not afraid of hard work, they still think, oh, this is the business for me. But then how do you find those opportunities? So many books out there, many classes. How do you uncover these opportunities? The way I have uncovered most of my opportunities has not been by the book. I have been out there just being who I am in the community, meeting people through other organizations that I'm passionate about, working alongside them on committees, building friendships, building relationships, adding value wherever been given the opportunity to come in and work with a team and lead in some way. This particular case study that you and I talked about, and I won't name the company name for confidentiality reasons, but the story of how they invited me into this project started with me saying yes to speaking on a panel. And it was about just what's going on in the real estate industry in Houston, Texas. And I've done many of these in my career. I like to say yes to those opportunities because it makes me brush up on my market knowledge, and you always learn something in that process. So I was on this panel and we were talking about the market, and it was actually a bad time to say yes to a market update because we were in a bad market. Those are always fun. So we try to add some levity to it. And I said something kind of funny. And afterwards, this lady came up to me and said, "I really liked what you had to say. And I want to talk to you about a project." And so it turned into an invitation to meet her team and to talk to her about a challenge they were facing with regard to finding a new corporate headquarters. They seemed overwhelmed. They were very authentic about the struggles that they had run into on their own in trying to solve this without the help of the right team put together for them. And they said, where do we start? So that was an incredible opportunity to take the other 10 plus headquarters that I had done before, match it to their needs, and build a roadmap for them specifically. And I say it that way because every journey is unique, just like every company is different. So I first started with, all right, what are the goals? Where did they come from? Who are the stakeholders? Who are the people who are going to say yes or no, and or here's the next batch of questions that I'm throwing at you because I'd love to sabotage this whole project because it really doesn't make money for us. So once we started there, I made them aware of a couple of things that I could anticipate that they might run into next. One was they had a board meeting coming up, and I said, well, what do you plan on presenting? And they said, well, we're excited. We have a couple of options, and we really think that these options support this new culture that we're trying to carry forward. And I said, that's great. How much does it cost? And they said, well, we have some general ideas. We haven't figured all that out yet. And I said, all right, well, when the conversation starts with, we want a new corporate headquarters to really support this new culture that we're building, those are all important things. But if you don't have a solution that the CFO can support with confidence, taking it to the board without fear of losing his job, you don't have a project.
I just need to pause you there for a second, Brandi, because as somebody who typically wears that CFO hat, if I'm not involved, and I would assume a major financial commitment, I do not like to be surprised. And so I can't imagine that too many other CFOs are out there that are like, oh, I love $1 million surprises. That's just not a good place to be when you're trying to get buy-in from the board.
They, when we started talking about that, they said, oh, in fact, we do have a new CFO. And I said, all right, well, let's learn a little bit more about that. I said to them, so this opportunity came up right after I started my brokerage firm. I was a company of one at the moment, and this was my first meeting. And they said, you have all of this experience. We want you to be our broker. We're going to go in and tell our board that you're going to be our broker. We have a plan. We're going to get this done. I said, your board is probably going to ask you for my credentials. I am no longer part of a global real estate company. I'm a boutique of one today. I'm hiring people later this week, but I don't think that's going to satisfy them. And they said, well, we want to hire you, and they've given this project to us. So why can't we just hire you and just give them your resume? I said, I encourage you to do that. That would be wonderful for all parties. And if the new CFO, who is doing a really good job of making sure that he doesn't get fired in the first month, he might say to you something like, no, we're going to need somebody who is like one of the big 4 real estate companies to make sure we're making the safe choice. And so we prepared for the board meeting. They came out and they said, we're so disappointed that the CFO does want us to interview brokers that are from global platforms. I said, don't forget the conversation that we had. I told you this might happen. And if it does, it's okay. Let me help you find the right brokerage firm. And so I helped them determine what was important to them, build a list of candidates, invite those candidates into the room for an interview, prepare them in advance with the scope of work that they would be competing to win. I put together a decision matrix, a scorecard for my client and her team to use during the interview process. And we picked a broker that became my co-broker that satisfied the needs of the CFO and the board, and also created an opportunity for this team to have a sounding board confidentially with me, their consultant, who would then translate the need to the co-broker so that they could go and get all the important data needed to advance the decision.
So Brandi, I love this story so much because I often play a similar role, not in the real estate world at all, but what I heard you use was one of my favorite words, which is translate. And sometimes when you're in the industry, you have seen a lot of things. You know, it sounds like you've been in the real estate world for a while. You've helped a lot of business leaders relocate headquarters and kind of figure out some of those decisions. So you probably know psychologically what they're thinking about, what they're dealing with, the obstacles they're going to face, budgetary restrictions, needs assessments. I mean, you've done all of these things. And so to have an alliance with somebody like you, to be able to take what they're telling you, but then translating it into the actual real estate lingo and knowing what the board's going to want to see is just a fantastic skill set. I'm really excited to hear how this story turns out in our next episode, but I don't want to get too close to the end here with, right away, just because I think that there's some value to kind of continue to unpack it. So I'll be interested to kind of further break this down. But in our next episode, Brandi, you mentioned that there's a couple other similar stories, cautionary tales, I guess you could say, of real estate transactions that you've also helped with. And so I hope our guests stay tuned for our second episode where I'm going to be talking with Brandi Sikes. She's a commercial realtor, but really there's so much more to it, helping business leaders make great real estate decisions in our next episode. So hope everybody stays tuned.